I think it's safe to say that this is going to be a pretty busy offseason.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, we are joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We are going to react to Kyle Cuffe entering the transfer portal a little bit more in depth, also get a different perspective from that 10-minute mini podcast I did earlier today. And then we're going to talk about the interested players for Syracuse, MaGee and Jacari White. This is going to be an offseason that hopefully will turn the tide for Syracuse basketball. So at this time next year, the Orange are either preparing for an NCAA tournament game or they already won their NCAA tournament game, and the round of 32 begins on Saturday. Thank you so much, Neil, for joining us here on Locked On Syracuse. Before we get to you, this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. And I don't know about you, Neil, but I think we're going to need a lot of 5 Hour Energy this offseason because a lot of players are probably coming in. A lot of players are probably coming out. Did you catch Adrian Autry's final post-game press conference and the question when he was asked about the returning players? Did you catch that?
I did. Yeah.
He chuckles about returning. It's hilarious.
Well, and I was on the radio with the guys from the Score 1260 earlier this week talking about his last press conference and some of the different things he said, such as when he was asked that and talking about he's a little disappointed by the media coverage and other things. And well, you and I have talked about Coach Autry, on a couple occasions, and he's getting his third year. I think he's got to produce or it's time to move on. Some people wanted that already. It is what it is. We'll see. Like you said, the key for this team, they have a nice class at the prep level, but those are freshmen, so we'll see about all that. The key is, the main guys that they're looking to retain from this past season's roster, and I assume JJ Starling and Donnie Freeman are at the top of the list, and they got to hit a home run in the transfer portal. I mean, there's no other way to slice it. And Alex Klein, it sounds like he's really good at what he does. And, he didn't obviously have a chance to make an impact on last season's roster based on when he was officially hired. But I think he's on the recruiting trail all the time, and he's got contacts and a former NBA scout and all blah, blah, blah. So I think the pieces are there for them to do well in the portal. But as you know and talk about all the time, it's all about this. It's all about the money.
It's not all about the money.
Okay, a lot of it is about the money, and there's new dynamics in play, assuming this, this House versus NCAA, lawsuits are settled, and so you've got revenue sharing where the schools can pay the players directly, and then you've got NIL, and I think Syracuse is kind of middle of the road in the ACC in those regards, but you've got the Vegas tournament this coming year that could give them at least 1 million more. And so we'll see about that. I mean, I think they can be competitive with most teams, not like you and I were saying off air, like a Louisville or an Arkansas. Some of those just have crazy budgets. But I hope it doesn't just come down to money. But the other thing is, Jackson, is even if they get, if they do better in the portal, on paper at least, because we won't know until the season starts, I mean, it really comes down to how the players mesh and the coaching. I mean, even if they get all these, amazing transfers, like, see how they're coached.
Yeah. I mean, they got to get coached and they got to play together.
Right. Yeah. And the chemistry, the gelling, all that. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting offseason. And like, it's, the portal's officially open, I believe, Monday, the 24th for just under a month. And, some guys have already announced their intention, and you see the interest levels and all that stuff. And I'll be fascinated to see about, coming and going. Nothing will surprise me.
Nothing will surprise me either, really, this offseason. I think the only thing that would surprise me is if they actually hit a home run this offseason. I know it doesn't sound super optimistic, but I mean, I'd be pleasantly surprised if they do, because Neil, you said it's all about the money. It's not all about the money, because if Syracuse gets in the ballpark for these players that they want to go after, we're going to talk about Kobe MaGee and Jacari White. If they get in the ballpark in the money, well, then it comes down to relationships. You have to have
totally.
In order to get these guys. So, you know, you got to have them, because they're not always going to sit here and say, I'm going to take every single penny, every single dollar to come play for. It's only about the money. Actually, my dad's a recruiter. He says that money is the third thing that people worry about on average. It's the third thing. Usually it's like environment and the relationships that you have with people in the office that ultimately determine where someone is going to go. So once the money is about equal, it comes down to a lot of other factors other than that.
Totally agree. I was, I guess, maybe saying it more from the standpoint if they're going for some of these just elite transfers, like if they're completely priced out, like that's one thing. But I agree with you. If things are a little bit more, all things being equal in terms of NIL and revenue sharing, it's about relationships. It's about what other players are on the roster, playing time, fit, all that jazz. And if I may, Syracuse is number 6 or 7 on the all-time wins list in college basketball history, and it's still a national brand, but they haven't been very good in a long time. So, and they were really bad. I mean, last offseason, okay, you won 20 games, fine. First year, Autry head coach, like not bad. Now you're selling them on a team that won 14 games. Now, again, they have this top 10 national recruiting class in 2025 at the high school level coming in. You know, if Donnie and JJ return, and then they get, the roster could look nice, but is it a hard sell to say, hey, come to Syracuse, we used to be really good, but we're not good now? And I hate saying that, because I love my alma mater, and I try and be as positive as anyone. I really do. And I'm not going to trash players or even coaches personally, but they stunk this year. I mean, what else do you say? I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to stink next year, and maybe Klein will crush it in the portal and they'll win 22 games and be a 4 seed and go to the Sweet 16, and we're back in business. But it's hard to feel crazy optimistic, like just kind of where we are. So,
Kyle Cuffe.
Yeah.
He's the first guy to enter the transfer portal.
Yep.
We'll talk about him for a little bit. What was your reaction to it?
I guess I'm a little surprised. I just said a few minutes ago, nothing surprises me. So on the one hand, it's like I'm not surprised, because nothing surprises me. Is just given the landscape we're in and how many guys left last year and how many guys leave every team every year, come and go. I guess for me, I was a little surprised because if memory serves correct, there was a couple recent media reports saying that he planned to come back. Plan being, the operative word. He didn't average a ton of minutes, but he did see his minutes come and go. But he had some good games, and he was a spark off the bench. Seems like he liked Syracuse. Again, I don't know what behind the scenes and all that jazz. Conversations with coaches. So I guess I'm a little surprised. He does have, I believe, 2 years of eligibility left, even though he graduated. He's been in college for 4 years. So if he's looking for a better opportunity in terms of playing time, given, we don't know what returning guards are going to be returning in 2025-26, but then you have multiple guards at the prep level, and we'll see about the portal. So, there might not be a lot of playing time. So it's like, on the one hand, I was a little surprised because, again, we had heard maybe that he was planning to come back. And he did see his minutes did ebb and flow, but he did see some decent playing time here and there. But at the same time, again, with all the other guards, I'm not like terribly surprised, but I'm a little surprised. I'm also maybe a little surprised that he was the first name to come out. That doesn't mean that other guys don't have their intentions known. It just doesn't come out in the public sphere. But when I saw that, and Joe Tipton, broke that. He breaks a lot of stories. When I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, Kyle's first. Okay. All right. A little surprised.
Yeah, a little that he wasn't the first name on my bingo card.
Yeah.
He was kind of on the bingo card, but last year, I'm trying to remember correctly last year who was first. I'm too old to remember that. Was it Quadir Copeland or was it Justin Taylor? If it was Justin Taylor, then my reaction, I bet you, was I am totally not surprised. That would be like if Chris Bell was the first to enter it this year. If it was Quire Copeland, I would have been like, what? Real? I would have been more surprised than I was with Kyle Cuffe. The only reason why this is surprising to begin with is because at the end of the season, he was pretty adamant about his plans to return to Syracuse the following year.
Right.
My assumption, I don't have this sourced, but my assumption is let's talk about the roster, right?
Right.
Even if JJ Starling doesn't come back, even if Elijah Chapamore doesn't come back, you know that Syracuse basketball is going to bring in a couple of replacements at the guard position that are going to play more than Kyle Cuffe, or at least be projected to play more than Kyle Cuffe. And then you also have Kyan Anthony, a top 30 national freshman coming in, and Luke Fennell, who you think is going to get a little bit of playing time as a true freshman next season from Australia. So you combine, that's 4 guards that are ahead of Kyle Cuffe on the depth chart. So my assumption is that the coaching staff probably told him, hey, man, you can come back, but you're not going to play.
Yeah. So again, I think part of it is like, what, is Kyle's expectation for himself? He played in most games this year. I don't remember exactly how many. He might have had a few DNPs, but he averaged 12 minutes a game, something like that. So, is his expectation that he's going to come back, or is his expectation that wherever he plays next year, whether it was Syracuse or somewhere else, that he's going to, play 20 plus minutes or be a starter or whatever? Because if that's the case, and hey, listen, go for it, buddy. But that's not going to happen in Syracuse, or at least from my perspective, just given, and again, we don't know everything in terms of, the roster makeup, but that's just not going to, he'd be, again, a spark off the bench. And, I don't think he didn't shoot the ball particularly well this past season, but, had some solid games and as a hustle guy. And I definitely don't think he was one of the weak links on the defensive side. And there was a lot of them. So, again, if he's looking, the whole team struggled here and there, but he wouldn't have been like the first person I pointed to as like being like, a liability on defense, or the biggest liability on defense. So I'm not like surprised, but again, if his expectation is he just wants to have, he's play 15, 20 plus minute, just decided, and he does have 2 years left. So, we wish him well. I'll be curious to see where he lands. I'd be surprised if he landed at maybe another high major, but I don't know, like, is another program in the ACC or one of the other power conferences gonna, want him and pay him assumably, and he's going to play 20 plus minutes. We'll see. Time will tell. But he just probably wasn't going to get that time. But it wasn't, I would love to know behind the scene, he said he would plan to come back, and then, obviously the season ends and, they start to have off-season meetings and discussions with players. And was he told that he needed to transfer, or was he told that if he stayed, he's still only getting 10 to 12 minutes a game? Did he just decide on his own, I'm out, based on other guys on the roster or what he's hearing or guys coming in? I'm not, there's certain things I have sources for, but this particular matter, I don't. So I don't know. And I would never want to speculate, but wish him well.
We do wish him nothing but the best. My guess is that Kyle Cuffe is going to do one of two things. He's either going to go play for a mid-major school, or just to troll a little bit, he's going to go to NC State, play for Will Wade, and he's going to become an all-ACC player. One of those two things, you guys decide in the comments section below. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you need to go. It's powered by the twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada PRO-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada PRO-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around a golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching all the tournament action, and 5-Hour Energy helps me keep up the next day. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. I'm Jackson Holzer, joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We just reacted to Kyle Cuffe entering the transfer portal. Now, having said that, last night we finally got some news as far as who Syracuse basketball is interested in so far in the transfer portal. You got Kobe MaGee, you got Jacari White. Let's start talking about Kobe MaGee. Now, I'm going to set the stage here for everyone. Sure. He's 6'6", 180 pounds. He's a guard or a forward, so essentially a wing player. Yep. He is from Drexel. I know that's everyone's favorite high major program, Drexel, right? Syracuse has expressed interest in Kobe MaGee, along with, you ready for these schools? Maryland, Kansas, Texas, Xavier, Wake Forest, Seton Hall, and Clemson. This coming from the portal report. So even though it's coming from a mid-major program like Drexel, I think Syracuse has the right eye, because you look at the other programs that are going after him. They all think he can play. So who's to say that he can't play just because he's coming from Drexel? I'm not gonna stop beating this drum that the school does not matter where a player is coming from. Kobe MaGee averaged 14 points a game last year, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 47% from the field. But ready for this one?
Yeah, 44%
from the three-point line, and 44 is a special number here at Syracuse University. So
on brand.
The stars are aligning here. Evan Maya defensive rating of 0.06, so not great. And he's got 1 year of eligibility. So, Neil, I mean, do you have interest in Kobe MaGee? Do you think he's going to be a good fit for Syracuse if he were to commit?
Yeah, and I agree with you about the whole like mid-major to high major thing. I think some guys, when they do that, it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. And so if they, want to show interest and pursue guys that are mid-majors, I'm totally cool with that. Obviously, they did that with some guys this past season. Some worked out better than others. Whatever, clean slate. On paper, he looks good. I mean, Drexel finished, I think they're like 18-15 this past year, so they weren't playing the CAA. I think he was all CAA third team. I was doing some research earlier on this. Honestly, Jackson, the number that stands out to me is 43.9% rounded up to 44%, which is on brand from deep. And I was looking it up because, when I first, and actually you had first alerted me to this about him. And I said, okay, so 44% from deep, is that like high volume, or did he average, did he take like, but he led his team in 3-point attempts, unless I, saw it differently. So he's a relatively high volume 3-point shooter, making 44%. Again, playing playing against predominantly other mid-major teams. I didn't study Drexel's record or schedule this past season, but given that Syracuse, I don't know, where did Syracuse finish in 3-point shooting? Were they above 33%?
I'm actually looking at it right now.
As we're talking about this, I
was predicting it.
Were they like 32.7, 33.1?
Close. You said 32.7. They were 32.8. That was their percentage this season. That was 13th in the ACC.
Okay, so I will say it did go up throughout the year, and Chris Bell certainly was part of that because he definitely shot better later on in the season. But again, under 33%. And look, Syracuse was 14-19, not just because their 3-point shooting was, like so. Their defense was bad. They turned the ball over way too much. They gave up big leads for various reasons. But the 3-point shooting is part of it. But so for me, I'd be all about someone who shoots 44% from deep. Now it's interesting. Now part of it is, again, we just don't know who's coming back. So like JJ Starling, we hope, you assume he's coming back, leading scorer, but he didn't shoot great from deep. Elijah Moore didn't play the last bunch of games because of an injury, and he played some here and there, but he was inconsistent, and he was also like starting for a while, but then getting hooked, the hook right away. So it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't return. I mean, I don't know that firsthand. If you ask me my projection for Elijah, I put it at like 50-50. Like, I'm not saying, oh, he's definitely gone or he's definitely staying. I'm just kind of like, I can't figure that one out. Other guys maybe have a better feeling about, but yeah. So, I mean, Syracuse, and then certainly, Chris Bell, is he coming back? Cause he's, I don't think so. I think a guy that, you could say he regressed in terms of scoring and all that, but he did improve things later in the season, but he's still not a great defensive player and he's still not a great rebounder. But, people love to crap on him when other guys on the team weren't great defensive players or rebounders too. But anyway, he did shoot better, but is he going to want to come back after, being taken out of the starting rotation and seeing his minutes? I assume his overall minutes declined this past year.
They did. They went down by over 5 minutes.
Was it over 5? I figured it was at least a handful.
Yep.
So, okay, so let's just hypothetically, if, let's say Elijah doesn't come back, Chris doesn't come back, you do have Luke Fennell coming in and Kyan Anthony, and obviously Kyan Anthony can shoot it from 3. But it's for me, if this team is going to be more successful, one area that would help will be 3-point shooting. And I'm all about a guy that shot 44% from 3 in college this past season. Kyan didn't do that. Now, Luke Fennell plays overseas in a professional league, so he plays some pretty good competition. I don't know his stats. I actually would love to know his stats, like for the season. But I'd be all about it. What do you think? I mean, again, he's mid-major, fine, but he shoot it well. I'd be for it.
Yeah, I think that this is an upgrade on Chris Bell. I think, in fact, that if they were to get Kobe MaGee, this would be Chris Bell's replacement. And he's not a good defender, but Chris Bell is an awful defender. So you go from awful to not good. Well, that's an improvement. And he could shoot 44% from the 3-point line, and he has a better all-around game than Chris Bell. I think I watched a stat report on him. He scores a lot of his points inside the paint. That's not something that Chris Bell does.
He's not one-dimensional, right? Okay.
No, he's not one-dimensional. So I think Kobe MaGee would be an upgrade. And also, I'm not worried about the school that he's coming from because I'm looking at the other schools that are pursuing him, and they're all saying that he can play.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Use it Kansas and some other ACC
Kansas
schools
and Maryland. You got Texas. You got a couple of you got Wake Forest and Clemson in there from the ACC. Like, they're saying he can play. So who am I to say he can't?
Again, as you know, Jackson, because we follow the same stuff and some of these recruiting ads tag you and I. It's like almost take like so-and-so has received interest from the following school or is hearing from the following, like, I write about it and I source, Joe Tipton or whatever, but you do have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because, like, if a guy hears from a bunch of schools and Syracuse is one of them, sure, I'll write about it and I'll say if I think it's a good fit, but how, like, high of a level Syracuse is pursuing that particular player,
that's the thing we don't know.
Absolutely. But that's okay. I mean, that's part of recruiting. Yeah. But, and I always want to know who they're hearing, who they're showing interest in. But yeah, I mean, he sounds like he could be solid. It's just, it's such a chess game because it's like, now I got to assume that Syracuse coaches know other guys on the current roster that are probably leaving or have already told them that they're leaving, and it's just not out there that you and I know. So, that's why they're looking at this guy or the other guy we're going to talk about because they know stuff that we don't.
So. That is, I think so. They should know more than us.
I would hope. I mean, you and I.
Then we have a bigger problem
here. Yeah, I mean, we've got sources here and there, but we're not, being paid by the school. We're not part of the program. So exactly.
No, maybe we should be.
Hey, yeah,
that'd be fun.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
We're joined by Neil Adler from inside the Loud House. We talked about Kyle Cuffe entering the transfer portal, talked about a guy that Syracuse is interested in per the portal report, and that's Toby MaGee, a Drexel transfer. Let's get to another guy, that Syracuse is interested in. Jacari White, 6'3", 170-pound guard from North Dakota State. That's everyone's favorite basketball powerhouse, North Dakota State. Syracuse has expressed interest in him along with 19 other schools.
Right.
And some of these schools are including, but are not limited to, Alabama, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Illinois. And this is per On3's Joe Tipton, who just broke the news about Kyle Cuffe entering the transfer portal. Jacari White, he averaged 17 points a game last year, 4 rebounds a game, 2 assists per game, 45% from the field, and 40% from the three-point line. He was also All-Summit League defensive team, but he did have an Evan Meyer rating of 0.2, so that's a little bit surprising. 1 year of eligibility remaining. I don't know about you, but I feel like if they get him, that would be amazing because for 2 reasons. 1, I think he would just be a great player for Syracuse. And 2, if J.J. Starling leaves, Jacari White could be the replacement.
Yeah, and just looking up here as you were, spouting off some of his stats, and they're pretty solid. And North Dakota State, they play, I believe, in the Summit League. They won 21 games. Okay, fine. Hey, it's more than Syracuse. But I say a little in jest, but so it looks like he took the most 3-point shots on their team, 221. So like 26 more than the next. So again, I always look when I see someone shooting 40+% from deep to see if it was high volume or not. And so both these guys we're talking about took a lot of them and made a good amount of them. So interestingly, Jacari didn't lead his team in scoring. They had another guy that averaged almost 21 points a game. They scored a lot of points, 81 points a game. But yeah, he looks like a fun prospect to me. Yeah, I'd be all about it. Listed, well, I'm looking on ESPN, so I don't know if hopefully they're correct, but 6'3", 180. So he seems more like a I don't know if he's a point guard, but just a guard, versus like a guard / small forward. I think MaGee, at least based on a height of 6'6", that's where he's listed on Drexel's website. At 6'6", I think you can go out as a small forward out on the wing. I mean, Chris Bell 6'7", something like that.
I think Chris Bell is 6'7", yeah.
Yeah. So but Lucas Taylor, I believe, is 6'5" or 6'6", and he played a lot of small forward. So yeah, both these guys again showed that they can score the ball, especially from from the outside, but also you mentioned with the other guy, he can score inside as well. To me, it's just, comes down to fit and, not being defensive liabilities, but shooting 40+% from deep interests me. The other thing I was thinking about before we came on together, Jackson, is like when we talk about Kyle Cuffe leaving. And then, so you say, well, is Elijah Moore, is he gonna? I'm not picking on Elijah. I'm just bringing him up. Is he gonna want to leave because if Starling returns, but they get a more traditional point guard, and Starling plays a lot of minutes at 2, and you've also got Kyan Anthony, so is like Elijah fighting for backup minutes at the shooting guard with Kyan? But then I thought to myself, wait a minute, like, is Elijah 6'5"? I think Kyan is 6'5". Could those guys, either of them, play small forward, do you think? Like, I don't.
I think they could. I don't see why.
I'm just thinking in terms of like positional overlap.
Elijah Moore, I'm looking at Sports Reference, is listed at 6'4".
6'4". I think that's where he was in college. I'm not sure about like on the Qs.com website.
ESPN 6'4".
Yeah.
Let me look at the website. 6'4". So you got 3 sites saying he's 6'4".
Okay, so he's probably more, traditional. I'm trying to think. I'm, thinking what the coaches are thinking. Oh, well, can we move some of these guys that are more traditional 2 guard, to the 3 spot just to. And again, a part of it again, is Chris Bell staying or going? I mean, obviously now Kyle's gone. So we'll see. But both those portal guys that they're showing interest in, to what level we don't know, but they sound good to me. They do, and there'll be more of that. I mean, come Monday, I'll just be it's
gonna be a loud house. Loud house.
A loud house. Yeah, it'll be a loud house. It'll be crazy. I will say, I'm not to digress, but I'm glad that I know last year the portal opened like right at the beginning of the tournament, or even before the tournament started, didn't it? Because
might have. I don't
and
remember.
teams were like declining NIT bids and all this jazz. I it's still a little weird to me that they're doing it while the NCAA tournament is going on, but at least it's after the first and second round, so there's not a ton of teams left, because it's just weird having looking at guys in the portal, but then there's also like guys still playing, and our guys that are on teams still playing, they might still want to hit the portal. So it's like, it's not all going to happen at once. So who knows? It'll be fun.
I think really ultimately what it comes down to, and everyone freaks out. I think we, the media, freaks out about that a lot more than the people inside college basketball. As like Will Wade is playing it perfectly right now at McNeese State. As long as you're transparent and you're not trying to hide anything, then like, all right, like we all understand, like you can compartmentalize this thing. Okay, I want to enter the transfer portal when the season ends. However, my team right now is in the NCAA tournament. So, does that doesn't mean that the player or the coach is all of a sudden going to like mail it in and be like, I don't even care. I'm entering the portal. I'm taking a job somewhere else. No, you just said everyone understands the rules, what's going on here. And all right, like as long as you're being transparent, it's totally fine. Back to Jacari White here for just a second. I think another reason why I like him. Yeah. He's consistent. So in 2023 at North Dakota State, he shoots about 4 3-pointers a game, and he made 36% of them. So pretty solid. Last year, 2024, he shot 4.5 3-pointers a game, and he made about 46% of his 3-point attempts. This season, he shot 7 3-point attempts a game, so a significant number, and he made about 40% of them. So every year, this guy has been a very, very good 3-point shooter. And I think we can kind of get a clue as to what Syracuse is going after, or what they're looking for. They're looking for guys that can shoot the ball, because Adrian Autry at the beginning of this past season mentioned in his like pre-press conference and everything like that, or just an interview or whatever, he said, I want this team to be a good shooting team. And I remember looking at that and being like, but you didn't really recruit any good shooters. Like, you didn't put the roster. You want it to be a good shooting team, but the guys that you got in the portal, like Carlos and Davis actually ended up being a decent shooter, but Carlos, Davis, and Lampkin and Taylor, like, you didn't exactly get elite 3-point shooters. I guess they were counting on maybe Bell a little bit more, maybe Moore a little bit more, maybe Donnie a little more, but
sure.
It's not like we didn't look at the roster going into the year saying this is going to be an elite 3-point shooting team. We were just hoping that it would be okay.
Yeah, and I don't remember the stats, but I remember, writing about these guys when they announced that they were transferring or whatever, Syracuse. I mean, I feel like Carlos and Taylor were like solid from 3. I don't remember their volume in terms of, like 34, 35% though. I mean, 32 Davis did not shoot well from 3, but I had talked to some people after he committed that said he can shoot the 3 ball. It's just not his strength, but he showed that he can hit it. But yeah, I agree. That wasn't necessarily the overriding strength or at least the sense I got in terms of that 4-member transfer class. So, with more just kind of, not playing and then being injured and just being kind of all over the place. And Donnie, who can shoot the 3 well, only playing in 14 games, and Chris coming on stronger later in the year, it was just like they were doomed. I mean, not to be doom and gloom, but they were doomed. Like, how are they going to be a good 3-point shooting team with all that context? Like, I didn't see it. And so for me, I'm all about, and I think you probably would agree with me. I mean, I'm all about getting guys that can shoot the ball from deep, at a really high level, because I think it's important in this day and age in college basketball or just basketball in general. But I'm just going to be honest with you, brother. I really hope they have a team that can like gel together and communicate better and just be better on defense, because remember a couple of years ago with the Boeheim brothers, they were fun to watch and they scored a lot. And I'm not going to crap on Buddy and Jimmy, because that one team that finished under 500, like they weren't like, there was other people on the team, like whatever, but you got to play some D and and I just think back to, and we've talked about this maybe offline in the past, Jackson, like some of those really, really good defensive teams from even not just like the 80s or 90s. Like, what about that defensive team in 2012, 2013 that went to the Final Four, lost to Michigan, but they gave up 39 points to Marquette in the Elite Eight, 50 points to Indiana, the top seed in the Sweet 16. They weren't a great offensive team, but they just locked in on defense. And obviously Autry is playing, he's focused more on man. He plays some zone, but I want to see a really good or a much improved defensive team and cut down on the darn turnovers. That drove me nuts, man. Because a lot of those turnovers, like, okay, maybe not a lot, but a decent amount of them were like unforced. It's like unforced errors in tennis, where it's like, it's not like the opposing player like hit some crazy shot that you just barely got your rack on. It's like you're just like mishitting the ball,
like a double fault.
Yeah, like just
like
kind
that's
of
just on you.
Yeah. And it just drove me nuts. And some games more than others, it would bite the team in the butt, so to speak, because the opponent would feast on them in terms of points off turnover. Sometimes they had a lot of turnovers, Syracuse, but they didn't get outscored a lot in that department. But it was just it wasn't just it was just empty possessions. And when you struggle on defense as it is, it's just so please be better on defense and taking care of the ball. And that's why, like, I love
that Adrian Autry texting you saying that we're
he just
better on
me.
defense.
Yeah,
Is
he did. Sorry, I had my ringer on. Sorry. He it's like JJ Starling, I think, is a good player, and I don't think he's a great 3-point shooter, but I think he's good in the mid-range and getting to the rim, but he's not a point guard. And Carlos, for all the crap he got, like, he had some solid, better games towards the end of the year, but he obviously wasn't. We were hoping for more, just in general at the point guard spot. And so I hope they had a home run in the portal in terms of a point guard, a center, and maybe a wing player. But it's like you said earlier, it's not everything, but it's gonna cost them money. So we'll see.
Well, I watched the NCAA tournament, and I think, man, we got a long way to go to get back into the NCAA. Like, we got to drastically everything's got to be improved. That's just the bottom line. They're not changing the coach. We know that, but we have to agree that the coach has to be better than he was a year ago. And it's the same thing with the players as well. We got to hope that Alex Klein knows what he's doing as a first-time general manager of Syracuse basketball. This is going to be a fascinating offseason. And for all the content here for Syracuse basketball this offseason, you're going to want to check out Locked On Syracuse on a daily basis, as well as Inside the Loud House with Neil Adler. Neil, thank you so much for taking the time. And Neil, remind people where they can find you on social media and your website.
Well, first of all, Jackson, always appreciate you having me on. You're my man. People need to follow you and your awesome pod. You have great guests and great content. InsideTheLoudHouse.com. And then on Twitter, X, it's LoudHouseFS. So appreciate you, brother.
All right. That's Neil Adler. I'm Jackson Holzer. And take care, everyone.